Hi guys, this is Zirconic here, and I'm going to be bringing, not quite a VOD review, but more just like a quick little glance over of what I think Echo Fox's issues are. And I picked a Fox vs. Envy Game 2, Week 5, Day 1. I just thought it showed a lot of, well, and not to take anything away from Envy, they did really well this game, but where Echo Fox went wrong, and some of their issues, and just in the way they play. And first we're going to start off with the team comps and pick and ban. So for as far as pick and bans go, um, I think the bans are all really good. You have Cassiopeia, Shen, and Anivia for Envy, and Shen and Cassiopeia are both like S tier picks right now. Are becoming, there's a lot of emphasis in a lot of regions about them. Pretty good picks. And then we know Froggen does really well on casts too. We saw in TSM where he was practically 1v9 and he was doing a lot of work that game. Then Anivia, Froggen, like lots of Season 2 CLG uh, memes, So obviously a pick or ban against Froggen. And then for Echo Fox, you have Nidalee, which is a pretty good ban. Um, I maybe would have banned the Vlad over it, but it's not bad. Um, it's still pretty high up. It's not quite as like top priority as it has been in the past. Little couple nerfs have made it a little less, but still pretty good, all said and done. And then Lissandra, I actually really like this ban against Envy because they can flex it between mid and top. And then Seraph having is a really bad plan just because he's their shot caller. So giving him one of the best hard engage tools in the game is really bad because it just allows him to pull the trigger and just hard carry his team that way. So it's a really good idea to get him off that. Then Ryze is S tier, really good champion right now and has been for a while. So most teams are banning it if they're not on blue side, or it should be a red side ban. Is how I should phrase that. So let's get into the team comps a little bit. Let's start with Envy. Really good S tier champs. All these are S tier champs, except for Trundle's usually top. It's kind of weird that he's uh, in support, but that's just an Envy Hakuho special. They're, I think, the only one still running Trundle support, but it's working for him. I don't know how viable it'd be against like top tier teams or like internationally, but they're making it work for them so far, and it does make their draft a little tricky just because you could potentially flex it. Um, Swain and Vlad are both really strong right now. I know Swain's a little more emphasized top in NA than other places. I've pretty sure it's played more mid in EU, but I haven't watched a lot of EU lately. Unfortunately, just haven't had the time. But I remember reading that people were saying it was going mid there a lot more often. But anyway, so two really good picks. And then you get into Rek'Sai, super good pick for the jungle. It's probably top priority in NA. I know Rek'Sai, Meteos, and Svenskeren are picking it all the time. Those are around the top three junglers with there's a couple other names you could throw there, but for the most part, those are like top three right now in NA. And they'll have a huge emphasis on Rex. I love to play a champ, so good pick there. Ashe is slowly becoming S tier, or it's already S tier, depending on your team. Some people put different priority on it, but super good right now. One of the best utility AD carries, has been for a long time, and really brings this team comp together. The rest of Envy has good follow-up CC, but like Swain never move. Really hard to engage a fight with, but if you Ashe arrow somebody, it's really good to lock them down after. Rek'Sai can do the same with a knockup, and Hakuho has the Trundle Pillar, which is always a good CC for any team. So I like their team comp for the most part. It's maybe a little AP heavy in my opinion, but it does mean that the enemy team will prioritize MR, and then Ashe can actually do a lot of work late game once you have Hurricane and a lot of crit. We saw Sneaky get that pentakill with it, so it's maybe a little AP heavy than I like, but it's not too bad, and it does maybe enable Ashe later. As far as Echo Fox go, so they actually did okay in terms of like what champs they got that are strong on the patch. Like Victor's the blind pick mid champion right now, but so like that's good. Aurelia is one of the top priorities in top. Karma's S tier support pick. Ezreal's not so high, but some teams are still running it. And some certain players just play it so well that it's like always pretty relevant. Like Prey in Korea, it's always an LCK. He's really good at the champ. Has been playing it forever now, so like that's an exception. But it's not a bad pick necessarily. I'm not a big fan of the Kindred pick, but it's not a bad choice either. It's fallen off a little bit. I don't know how willing I'd be to pick it anymore, but they seem to think it's okay here. But the big theme for me is not necessarily the picks in this comp, but the whole overall team comp synergy. So the only way this team wins really is that they have this like poke disengage for and with the split push, so you can do a really good 4-1 split push, right? So you have your group of four, and you can do the Karma Shield, speed him away. You got Ezreal, who's really slippery, and then once he gets Iceborne Gauntlet, we'll have the slows, right? So it's really hard to get ran at. You have Victor, who has the gravity field, which you can lay down and use to slow people down and then stun them. And then Rylai's is also like you can E for a slow. Once you get that, it's pretty good. Soft CC. Then you have the Kindred, which also does have a slow, even sort of like, but mostly is used for the ult, right? The utility keeps this group alive. But the thing is, there's no hard engage on this comp, not really. Like, you have a root here from Karma that takes time. Same for Victor. You have the gravity field that takes time. You have a couple slows, like I said. But the big issue is there's no hard CC minus the Aurelia E, which is single target. So there's no way they start a team fight. Like, the only way they win is if they play the split push perfectly. Then if they ever get behind, which in this game they do, this team comp can't do anything. So you see right away, Echo Fox is already, and maybe they meant to because they have a passive playstyle, but put it into where they're either ahead and can split push to death, or like envy to death, or they're just not a lot going on here. So unfortunately, I think there's some good champ picks. I think the comp itself is not very good. So starting from here, we'll see how the rest of the game goes. Okay, so for the level ones, pretty much what they do is that they do line of scrimmage, right? And they just do this stereotypical where they like face off here. But the thing that Echo Fox is doing is that they end up doing a blind lane swap where they just send it their bot lane top, which is a pretty good idea, and I get where they're coming from for sure. Because the Aurelia and the Swain matchup, Swain's pretty good against melee matchups early on, and they really want to get their Aurelia ahead, right? Like they're a team comp that doesn't do well from behind because they have no hard engage. So if they get behind, they pretty much can't react. Um, so they want to get the rail ahead, lane swap it, which is fine. I think if you're more okay with your top laner doing okay in the matchup, though, there's a good argument to be made that Ezreal Karma wins this bot lane really hard against Hakuho and Laud. Karma's just really good into melee supports, and Ashe doesn't have a very strong laning phase either, so that Ezreal bounce, like the poke is pretty good coming from Ezreal, especially before the first back. Like you'll see in Korea a lot. If you play Ezreal, you extend out the first back like hard. They'll try to stay out as long as possible, so you don't get that first back where Ezreal only gets a tier, but the enemy ADC will get actual damage item. So there's ways to work around that. So I think there's actually an argument to be made that you want that 2v2. But I think it's a lot more important in this to get your 1v1 matchup in the lane swap, and that's what Echo Fox does. And so the theory is good behind it, but we'll see shortly that doesn't work out so well for them. But the big thing, just to go over it really fast, all you're going to see from this is pretty much you'll see Ezreal and Karma are going to run up top, and then they'll take the tower, and then they're just going to flip it and run down bottom together, right? So they'll and you'll see Envy just mirror it, right? So Envy's going to have their bot lane stay bot, and then Swain will eventually join to push down this turret, and then they'll flip it, get the top turret. Same for Echo Fox, they'll get this turret, and then flip it for bot turret. And what's important is just going into our next point is that they're going to split the map down mid lane, where Envy gets the strong side at top, and Echo Fox's strong side is bot. So that's just the important thing that comes for the level 1.
And Beatrice's zoning.
So now we've talked about the lane swap, let's talk about where this lane swap really goes wrong for Echo Fox. So as you see, they just trade towers top and bot, right? They just do the stereotypical lane swap where you put your bot lane 1 and then you flip it or run it the other way. So pretty standard. The thing that's interesting about this, we all know in a lane swap, what you're going to do is you're going to split the map down the middle instead of down the river, right? You're going to split it by mid lane. So Envy has the strong side here while Echo Fox has it here, and what this means in most scenarios is that Envy gets the Rift Herald and Echo Fox gets the Dragon, which is fine. You trade for trade, even though I think maybe a little bit more important should be put on Rift Herald in this instant, just because Echo Fox really wants the Rayleigh to get ahead, while Seraph with the Rift Herald will is pretty bad for trying to get the rally ahead. So that's um, just my thoughts on that. I know a lot of NALCS has been putting priority on the Rift Herald, but that's just my opinion. I think I would have tried a little harder if I was Echo Fox to do something about it. But the bad part is you see Hard pass through the jungle top here on his weak side, which he could have got jumped since he has no vision and that's his weak side. But he goes over the wall here and blows his flash. So this bad pathing where he should never have even gone through top lane, well, this means is that they're not doing drag when that's what the trade should be, not blowing your flash here for no reason. So it's pretty bad jungle pathing by Hard, and immediately puts them behind. And this will really work out poorly in the later stages of the game, which will be my next point. Okay, guys. So next point being, because of this terrible setup from the bad jungle pathing to Rift Herald, instead of getting drag, a lot of things go poorly for Echo Fox. I'm going to let this clip play out while you see it, and pretty much what has happened is Seraph goes for the freeze here, and KFO goes for his freeze bot, which is pretty normal. And what you could usually do with this is usually a lot of teams will send like their ADC mid for pressure or something like that, but you could potentially send it top, but the issue is that they have to stick around here because the dragon's stuff, and they don't want to just give that up for free. So they set up this bush gank, which isn't very effective, and then they do this thing where they try to zone Laud and Hakuho off the wave, so KFO can get his freeze while Seraph gets his. And it seems conceptually really weird to me, and maybe it is the right play. I just haven't seen it before to know for sure. But it's definitely interesting, and it doesn't really work off because KFO still gets behind, and it's not great. So we see all this here, and what in particular I would have liked is if they just try to go for the drag while there's 5 grouped up here, it's like semi, at least get the teleport from Seraph, right? Even if they have to back off from the play, at least they've gotten the teleport off of it. And then they have the teleport advantage, and so when KFO will eventually go for this wave up top, and he does do it later, he would have the teleport advantage, which will come in really big next, because we'll actually show a clip of something really bad that happens for Keith after. But, we'll just like watch this play out a little bit just to show this zoning thing, right? So they're still here, still poking away, and KFO is. And I understand they don't want to let the Rayla get behind. I just think there's better ways about going about it, because they just end up getting pushed off the drag here, which I think is another passive, like it's the passive play, like I said. Should have tried to stick around and potentially get a teleport or something off of it. And again, good vision control, they wouldn't have to be so worried about the teleport. They could know it's coming from, like, not behind them, so it's not a huge flank. So another vision control thing, and Kindred even has Sweeper up. Okay, guys, so this is going to begin into my next point. As you can see, this pretty much is after Seraph has broke his freeze, pushed up, and KFO has gone to respond to that. Now here's the bad thing, and if you notice, actually, Envy's really smart because they have a pink ward right here in this brush. And what this allows is they actually end up catching out Keith overextended here because of the pink ward. Proxen uses that to get behind Keith. And Big does spot this out a little bit just too late. As he goes to ward, Proxen's already there. So Proxen's being in the right place, and they end up getting Keith. The bad part about this is that both top laners go to teleport, as you'll see shortly, but they cancel them. Now, this wouldn't be a huge deal except for Seraph's already bottom lane, so they all go for drag, and are able to do this, and Fox really can't do anything. See, the thing is that they've been proactive and tried to get the TP before when they got pushed off drag. KFO potentially could have gone top, or at this point if he had been top with this thing, he could have teleported. So that play happens, like say Envy gets the drag earlier, like after Seraph's TP'd in and Echo Fox just backs off, KFO has his teleport, can teleport and get the kill there. So it's a part just where the passive play comes into an issue to them. And after all this is said and done from the bad path to the Rift Herald, they've now lost a lot of objective and a lot of map tempo and pressure. Okay guys, so let's get into this. I'm going to let this clip run for you, and I'm just going to show Hakuho and Proxen actually show really good jungle support synergy here. So you see they're going to go ward bot side, and they're sticking together, right? So they're together, hard to get picked off, and go and get clear vision and put down wards, which is really good. The thing here too is when you have a freeze, the way that the enemy team tries to, like KFO has, the way the team tries to break it is by making Matt move around the other side. So I think they should have been more willing to try a TP in here and get some map pressure back. Because what you see here is that KFO just holds the freeze, Fox walks away, and because the vision they've established, Envy just walks up to mid turret and pushes off Froggen. And because Froggen doesn't have the blue buff, he also doesn't have the opportunity to wave clear. So the whole premise of having Froggen to sit mid and wave clear is already broken because they don't have control of blue buff, which helps out a lot with that. So for the freeze, they give up this mid turret. And I also think while the vision was lacking from Fox, and that's part of the reason they probably didn't call for TP play, Aurelia is on one of her biggest power spikes here, where she's with the Triforce on level 9. That's one of the biggest power spikes. So, and if you're not going to play around a champ's power spikes, you might as well pick a different champion, um, in my opinion. So I think they should have played around that a little bit more and just be willing to pull the trigger. And the thing is even if I'm wrong here, it just does show how passive Echo Fox is, and even if it's the right choice here, you see where they continually pick the passive choice and don't make the and get behind. Okay, guys, that's most of my points on this video. It's mostly just to show where Echo Fox has some issues in the game and where I think they could be fixed. One of the big things is that their draft this game I think was pretty bad. Um, Hard takes some pretty weird pathing, and then there's just some weird passive plays where they're not willing to do anything through the game. And I could go on through more of the game, but it's pretty much just more of the same where they make these plays where they just always are trying to avoid everything, and then they just get slowly choked out. And yes, there's a point where like Froggen gets a kill on Seraph, and they do like kind of a good base defense, but it's all these things that they don't have to do if they play in a more active, aggressive way. And some of it, there is a good argument to be made for some of the reasons they played passive. It's just the whole argument, like Doublelift is a good example. Like he doesn't want to lose the game slowly. He'd rather make the play to try to get back into the game. So that's kind of like my point with Aurelia being on the Triforce and level 9. Is like maybe it's not the greatest play. You know it's not in your favor, but at least at the very least you make a play and try to get yourself back in the game after losing all this map pressure. So hope you guys enjoyed. Leave any comments, feel free, and like, subscribe, or whatever. I'm gonna hopefully start uploading more to this channel if people enjoy the content, and even if they don't, I enjoy this. This was actually a pretty good experience for me. But have a great night, and hope to see you guys again soon.